Well, good afternoon, everybody. Very pleased to be here with Mayor Turner. Talk about Hurricane Harvey, yes, but of course Hurricane Harvey isn't going to hit our area directly. We're going to be dealing with the consequences of Hurricane Harvey. Obviously our thoughts and prayers are with those people who are lower down the coast who are getting a direct hit. We are going to have, as we've been saying all along, a major rain event over the next several days. Lots of rain over the entire area for a long time. At this time, I can re-emphasize, there will be no mass evacuations called because while we always say run from water, hide from wind, when we say that we mean storm surge, not rain. So in this case, we'll have a lot of water, but it's not the kind of water that we would ask people to evacuate from. There are a few municipalities along the bay that have called for voluntary evacuations simply because of the small storm surge that is coming in and the high tide. But in that case, if you live in one of those municipalities, we ask you to pay attention to your local officials, which is what we ask people to do for us. The other issue that has come up, there's been a question of fuel supplies. There are some stations that are out of fuel, but there is fuel throughout the area, and it will continue to be available. But as I've reminded a couple of people, the special efforts for the state to deliver fuel to an area goes to those areas that are being asked to evacuate so that people can evacuate. We're not one of those areas. We are still dealing with a major rain event. And we've dealt with those in the past. We don't know which watersheds might overflow. We don't know which neighborhoods might flood. But from the county point of view, we are geared up and ready to go. We will be here 24/7 until the storm passes and until the danger is passed, because our job, frankly, is to keep the community safe. We appreciate all the partnerships we have, not only the City of Houston, Mayor, all the municipalities, the surrounding counties. We've had great help from our congressional delegation. Well, see, when you're introducing Al Green, you think congregation. So, preacher, Al Green, Congressman, glad you're here. Metro, glad to see Karen Patman, the chair's here. I saw Chief Lambert back here. I'm not going to try and introduce all the dignitaries. I think the mayor's going to introduce some of his, but those are the points that I wanted to make. I'd like to turn it over at this time to my good friend and colleague, Mayor Sylvester Turner. Mayor?
Thank you, Judge, and it's certainly been a pleasure to work with Judge, not just this time, but over the last 21 months. There's no one who's more experienced and capable of dealing with incidents of this kind, major storm events, hurricane, than County Judge Ed Emmett. So thank you for your leadership. It makes it much easier to address these sort of situations. Pleased to have with me today several members of City Council. Councilmember Mike Knox is here, Councilmember Jack Christie, Councilmember Amanda Edwards are the ones who are here. I know they're Superintendent Carranza, Mike Judge, good to see you, and I know there are board members here as well. And so thank you all. And let me just tell you, certainly appreciate the efforts of the first responders for the City of Houston. Chief Acevedo, thank you so very much. HPD, Chief Pena, thank you. And certainly County Sheriff Gonzalez. Let me just say this is a large community, but we're speaking maybe some different voices, but the same message. I echo every single thing County Judge Ed Emmett had to say. For the City of Houston, tonight we're going to be operating with essential personnel only, and that would be the case from now until Sunday night, and then we'll constantly evaluate things as we proceed through the weekend. The weekend municipal courts will be closed. Okay, the park events scheduled for this weekend are canceled. The library will be closed. BARC will be closed with the exception of for emergency purposes. We want people to be alert, prepared, informed, on guard, stocked up, patient, sheltered, calm, and ready. And want to thank the people in the community for taking the necessary steps to be prepared. Chaos and panic, are our enemies, and we all know that. Over the next few days, as Judge has said, it's now a hurricane not hitting us, and then will be a tropical storm, and no telling where it will go, and that's why I think it's so important for us to pay special attention. We are expecting a lot of rain. This is a rainmaker. Not going to get too much of the wind. We'll be on the edge of that, but this is a rainmaker, and there are different reports, anywhere from some say 15 to 25, some say 20 to 30. We simply do not know. We're going to hope and pray for the best, but let's assume that there will be a lot of rain. The bayous, the water could come out of the bayous and just overpower our capabilities. And so in that case, we are ready to step in. All of the hot water vehicle vessels, for example, are positioned and ready to go to evacuate people if need be. I certainly want to thank, we've already been working with the Red Cross, identified about 56 different possible locations for shelter already. The faith-based community has stepped up. Way more than about 30 churches have made themselves available, so I certainly want to appreciate the faith-based community. So we're going to do our part. And then what I would say to you, over the weekend, and as we progress into the weekend, especially Saturday evening, Sunday, Monday, just stay off the roads. I think that's the best thing. Just stay off the roads. And if you just have to be out on the road, I think we all know that there are certain streets, intersections that are prone to flood, so, be very cautious, turn around, don't drown. But the best thing would just to stock up on some food, some games, you got kids, stay at home. Lastly, what I would say, especially for our senior citizens and the disabled community and low-income individuals, for our senior citizens, this is a time for us to be neighborly, check on our senior citizens. We don't want people to be in their homes by themselves, and if areas to start to flood, then they're fending for themselves. So check on our senior citizens, let's be neighborly. Same thing with the disabled community. The Mayor's Office on Disability is already having stakeholder calls with that community, but let's be sensitive to them. I want to appreciate and thank the HOT teams and the police department for already reaching out to our homeless population to provide them with shelter. We're trying to encourage them to come off the street, and so we're going to continue to reach out there. And then please don't hesitate to use 211 or 311 or 911 for an emergency. And lastly, I would simply say, like Judge Emmett indicated, this is not an evacuation for our area, but just be safe, heed the instructions, don't get your news from Facebook. Get your news from credible media sources. Listen to the county judge. This is an excellent place, Transtar. I want to thank Dennis Dorinsky with HEC for the work that their team that they are doing over there. But just be attentive, stay alert, but stay safe. And if you don't mind this coming from the mayor, never hurts to pray for those that are in the hurricane's way and for this city. We can't control Mother Nature, but prayer has a way of moving things. So let's just stay calm and let's stick together as a family. I certainly want to thank again the county for just being exceptional. Thank you, Judge, for your work and the rest of you, and I look forward to working with the congressional delegation, all of our partners. This is one time where I think we can demonstrate that we can all work together with mutual objectives, keeping people safe, and then let's prepare for after the storm to make sure everyone gets what they need. Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Mayor. Before we take questions, I would like to just introduce and recognize Mark Sloan, who's the Emergency Management Coordinator here at the Harris County Office of Emergency Management. It's him and his professional team that keeps us all safe, keeps us out of harm's way. And of course, Sheriff Gonzalez, thank you for being here. Mayor, you did mention courts in the city, and that reminded me, I forgot to mention, the district courts and county courts have already decided that there won't be any jury duty on Monday. So in case you got a jury notice, you don't have to go in on Monday. So with that, we'll be happy to take any questions you might have, and we'll repeat the questions for the translator.
Governor Ivan has
question revolves around the fact that Governor Abbott made a comment that was interpreted as calling for evacuation for the Houston area. I've spoken to the governor twice this afternoon. He reemphasized again. The other thing he said was, listen to your local officials. Perhaps it was a bit of a mixed message, but he has assured me that that is his message. Listen to the local officials. And so that is the continuing message. So you may want to check further with his office, but that's what he has told me personally.
If people are still considering evacuating north and Texas, is it too late to get on the road right now?
Well, it's not too late to get on the road from here, but there's no reason to get on the road from here. It's a rain event. You know, we didn't evacuate on Memorial Day or Tax Day or any of those other floods. We don't know which areas might flood. If we wanted to call an evacuation, we wouldn't even know where to call them because we don't know where the rain's going to fall and which watersheds are going to be affected. So there is absolutely no reason to evacuate from Houston or the greater Houston area. But in the overall viewing area, and down in the coast, listen to the Brazoria County, Wharton County, Matagorda County. Listen to those officials because they know best what's going on down there.
Can you talk about, Judge or the Mayor, about some of the high water rescues? I think for most Houstonians, what we remember most are some of the most recent flooding we had, and we had some high water rescue issues and people died, leaving their homes, getting on the road by the fire department. How has it changed, and what should we expect going forward? Because people are going to, at some point, want to be rescued by a firefighter.
And look, we know that there are certain, the question was how prepared we are, what we're anticipating for people that may have to be evacuated because of rising water, flooding conditions. Let me just tell you, you know, we always learn quite a bit. Every storm is different, but we learn quite a bit. We know that there are certain areas that are prone to flood, okay? And as a result, we are stationing our equipment in such a way that we can get to those areas if need be. We have inventoried all of our supplies, so to speak. Kind of give you an example with the fire department. There are 10 evacuation boats, 6 rescue boats, 1 high water vehicle. For the Houston Police Department, 5 high water vehicles, 3 rescue boats, 1 evacuation boat, the Bell helicopter. Public Works has more than 10 dump trucks for high water deployment. Even Metro, 1 high water vehicle, buses available upon request. FBI, even 2 high water vehicles, rescue boats. So we've taken an inventory of all of our available resources, and we're well positioned in case there's a need. We've already spoken ahead of time. For example, like with the Red Cross, identified more than 56 locations. The faith-based community is stepping up, so we are prepared. It's before the storm, during the storm, so it can linger for about 4 or 5 days, and then after the storm. And we are prepared before, during, and after. And if people find themselves in an emergency situation, utilize 211 and 311 or 911, and we will be there for them.
Question from a viewer on Facebook about Metro buses. Is Metro still running, and what will be the plan if we start to see some high water?
Okay, but before we get to the Metro question, let me add one more thing that I forgot to mention. After the tragedy in some of the underpasses, those are all now handled. Harris County Toll Road Authority, TxDOT, Metro, City of Houston have done a splendid job of putting up barricades to make sure that people cannot drive into those high water locations anymore. In the underpasses, that's not an intersection. Those are still turn around, don't drown type situations, but we just couldn't have the situation where people drown in an underpass that we had already lost people in before. So now,
I had a question from a viewer on Facebook. Curious about Metro. Is Metro still up and running, and what's the plan going to be if we start seeing, areas of the city flood? And how is that going to affect public transportation?
Well, first of all, Metro is going to listen to the direction of the local officials, the mayor, and the judge. As it stands right now, we're operating a normal service, but we're paying very close attention to the changing conditions. If the conditions should change, we're prepared to suspend service to make sure it's safe, or we're prepared to stop service if that's the circumstance. So we're going to follow the leadership of the mayor and the judge and be prepared to what we need to do going forward. I would encourage everyone to go to ridemetro.org and sign up for our service alerts. It will let you know exactly what our operating conditions are, what routes we're running, and what routes may not be running. And we'll be communicating that also on our social media, Facebook, and others. But we're going to follow the lead of the mayor and the judge and adapt our services based upon changing conditions. But right now, we're running a normal service.
Is there a list of the shelters, the time they'll be open, or where are we on that?
It will, the question is, there a list of shelters and when will they be open? There is a list of shelters, there is a list of the faith-based community facilities that are making themselves available. A lot will depend upon what happens out over the next 3 to 4 days. There's no use opening up anything right now. There could be an incident happening on the south side. We'll address that. We know where the facilities are. If it's on the north side, same thing in the center. So we do have the list. We're working very carefully with it, and we're ready to deploy, open these facilities as the need arises. That's the good news. We won't have to be searching and calling around to try to find out, can you help, can you not help? People have stepped up already. The main thing that I want to emphasize, and Judge spoke to it earlier, like on evacuation, this is a situation where at this point, people just need to be calm and not panic, be calm and not panic. One thing I do know, if the situation should change, it could worse, the county judge and myself will be very open and transparent with it. But right now, let's not panic. Let's just, number one, take care of your family, take care of seniors, take care of people with disabilities. Do what you need to do to care of your family. Stay off the street as we move more to the weekend. And then just make sure that you're listening to the reports.
Anything else? Yes.
Mayor, did you speak with the governor after his comments today as well? I think the judge did. And did you pick up on people maybe heeding his comments to evacuate afterwards, pick up on folks who decided to leave town because of that?
Did I speak with the governor? I personally did not speak with him. I know the county judge spoke with him twice. Look, there are a number of people who are in Hurricane Harvey's direct path. And evacuation orders have been given to them. And certainly they should be given, top priority. But for the city of Houston area, this is a rainmaker for us. And for Harris County, there's no need at this point for people to be thinking about leaving, getting on the road and putting themselves in greater danger. I mean, that's, quite frankly, you can put yourself in more danger by getting on the road when there is no need. If there comes a point in time that there is that need, there is no doubt in my mind that the county judge and I will be the first to say to people, these are the situations, and this is what you need to do. But at this point in time, I think we are more than prepared to address the situation.
It's going to dump a lot of water on the city and the region. So can you detail for us what kind of issues and problems you're preparing to deal with?
Sure. The question is, recognizing that this storm is going to dump a lot of water on the city of Houston and in the entire region, what are we preparing to do? For Harris County, the Harris County Flood Control District does this 365 days a year. Houston is not called the Bayou City for no good reason. We have lots of watersheds, so we are constantly managing those watersheds. There's nothing we can do to absolutely prevent some area from flooding. If you get a lot of rain in a short period of time on one watershed or on one neighborhood, then that area is going to flood. And it never ceases to amaze me that we think one area is vulnerable, but it's another area that ends up with water, at least in the streets, if not in the homes. So we are prepared. The full-time staff is geared up to deal with those situations as they arise.
How much damage are you expecting?
How much damage are we expecting? We have no idea because we don't know how much water is going to fall or when it's going to fall or where it's going to fall.
Can you talk to the residents about how the storm is sort of expected to stall over us? It could last for 4 or 5 days. And when it looks like it might be getting better, we still need to be cautious until like Tuesday or so.
And the question is, can we elaborate on the fact that this storm is expected to stall for 4 or 5 days and how people are to react. And I appreciate the question. Number one is that today things are relatively mild. Tomorrow things may be relatively mild. Going up into the evening, things may get more and more rain as we move forward. And there are many people, who, let's say, who took off today, okay, and then tomorrow, probably on that third day, people may then suffer from storm fatigue, okay, and they may want to start to venture out. Will probably be the worst time to do that. So people are going to have to be very, very patient, okay, and not come to the conclusion, I've been in the house for two days, and now I want to get out. For the Houston-Harris County area, we may get our greatest rainfall on Sunday, Monday, or possibly Tuesday. So people are going to have to be very, very patient. Every storm is different. And we don't know what this storm is going to do. The hurricane today, tropical storm, could end up being a hurricane again. So the best advice that I could give people is to be patient, okay? Be patient, be alert, pay attention to the news reports, okay? Again, credible news reports, and then let's just hope and pray for the best. I can't tell you whether it's going to be 20 inches or 25 or something less. I hope it will be less. That's my hope, it will be less. But that's something that we simply cannot control.
For the mayor and the judge, are you all more worried about newcomers who don't know what to do in a hurricane, or longtime Houstonians who think they do but don't?
Okay, the question is, are we more worried about newcomers, and there have been about a million and a half who come to our community since Hurricane Ike, or those who have been here? It's a hard question to answer because we are not having a hurricane. We are having a rain event. If we were having a hurricane, this would be an entirely different press conference and an entirely different conversation. So that's been one of the dilemmas we faced in parsing words. How do you talk about, yes, there's a hurricane, but the hurricane's not hitting us. We're dealing with the consequences of that hurricane. If and when we have a hurricane, we'll have to address that question more directly. But at this point, it's a rain event, and those people who have been here for a year have gone through a rain event, and that's what this is.
And to the chiefs and the sheriff, can you all speak briefly about what your departments are doing to get ready?
Sheriff and Chief?
I would say that we're very prepared for this, for any scenario. We have all our patrol operations in place. We have the different apparatus for any high water rescues, and we've been working collaboratively with the Houston Police Department and other regional law enforcement partners from the different community colleges, other local sheriffs and chiefs, and so we're well prepared. And so I would also advise that our jail will not be open for visitation, so if anybody wants to visit, they won't be able to this weekend, but we're fully staffed, we're ready to go, and we'll continue to communicate with everyone. But very proud of the efforts. We're all well trained, well coordinated, and we feel very confident in being able to respond to any need out there. Chief.
I would just echo the same thing. We have all of our equipment ready to go at about 6 p.m. tonight. It'll be staged across the city, all our high water rescue vehicles, our aircraft, and obviously from we're all talking about flooding, but I'm also worried about these type of events. The criminal element thinks that we're going to be overwhelmed. I'm just warning to them. We have several hundred detectives that we're putting out in unmarked cars throughout the city that will be patrolling and keeping eyes and gathering intelligence on sensitive locations such as gun shops and pharmacies and places that people may think they take advantage. We're actually going to have more officers, more police officers and deputies across this city and region in the next 72 hours or plus than we normally would. So we're better prepared, we'll be highly more visible, and so I would really recommend that they not try to do anything silly. The other thing is we've been working very closely with the FBI and all of our federal partners, and obviously I just talked to Colonel McCraw not too long ago, and they're going to be helping us in the region and prepared to help us as well. So we're ready, and we're ready for the flooding that is sure to come somewhere in the city. And so the only advice that we would give is that if you live in an area prone to to flooding, since we don't know where it might hit, prepare your stuff, move it higher up in your house, protect your stuff now, don't wait, because once the water starts creeping in, it'll be too late, and then don't chance it, it'll be time to leave if you start seeing that happen.
Good afternoon. From the fire department's perspective, I'd like to remind the public that if you check on your neighbors like the mayor mentioned earlier. If you have chronic medical needs and you have medical devices that you're going to need some assistance with, please communicate that and make those available. The fire department has resources deployed throughout the city. Strategically, we've managed the concentration and distribution of our resources, high water vehicles, boats, boat teams in preparation for what's anticipated. But again, the plan is dynamic. I want to stress that to the public that to be cautious about the use of 911, especially if the rains get really heavy, and use 911 judiciously for true emergencies. Okay, because if the rain continues for several days, we may get into a situation where we're having to stretch our resources thin, and we want to make the best use of those resources. So, but as of this moment, we're prepared. We have a plan to staff up additional units if the need arises, and we'll be ready to respond.
Anything else?
Is there any plans, as in past, I think the hurricane, when the Astrodome and NRG Park were used as shelters, are there any plans to stage any sort of shelters in there at all?
No, not at this time. And the Astrodome, as you know, has other plans being developed, and we really don't want to get into the Astrodome conversation at this time. All right, thank you all very much. I appreciate it. That concludes the formal part of this press conference. However, I have an informal. Mayor, you have always admired my very expensive glasses that I buy from the car wash, and I found you a brand new pair that are identical. Notice they're teal on the inside.
Judge, I've been waiting on these glasses for a long, long time.
There they are. They're you, my friend.
Thank you. Okay, be calm, be safe. Okay, thank you.
Harris County eyeglass
Thank
cleaner.
you.